Welcome and hello everyone. This is Farooq Siddiqui, your host at It's Sports Trend. You are watching another episode of our program. And today we have a very special guest, which I am going to introduce in very quickly. First of all, I'm just gonna bring on one of my co-hosts and colleague who is none other than Professor Sajjad Mustafa, who will be helping us today to bring on our guest and will ask a question. The person I have today, very interesting person, someone who has converted his love for the game of cricket into guidelines for the success in everyday's life. Mr. Sam, I hope I can pronounce his last name, Mr. Sam. Um, Thevanayagam is the president and CEO of the three companies focused on aerospace and defense system. Born and raised in a Christian home in Sri Lanka, Sam's, uh, he moved to US in a very early age. He got his bachelor's from in degree from USA. Actually, it's from Oral Robert University. He's a tedious speaker, a loving cricketer. He loved cricket. He's very friends with lots of very notable cricketers around the world. He's still like helping young kids learn cricket and other things. So none other than let me bring my first, Sajjad Mustafa Dean and Mr. Sam. So welcome to the show, Sajjad Mustafa, and welcome Sam. Welcome to our program.
Thank
How
you,
are you
Farooq.
guys?
It's nice to be here with you guys.
Yeah. Sorry
Good to
about your
speak with
last name,
you.
and I always have problem, like pronouncing the big last name. I have a friend's family in Minnesota, Minneapolis, for last 30 years, and it is always hard to pronounce their last name.
Yeah, yeah. I forgive you. Recently I was in bankruptcy court to buy a company, and the lawyer, he tried my name many times in the chambers before we went live, and the guy completely murdered my name. So I said my name is Thevanayagam, but if you're having a hard time pronouncing it, just call me handsome. And
Handsome.
so the court started erupting in laughter. And the next 3 days, the judge actually referred to me as Handsome Sam. So I got away with it.
I think we'll just call you Handsome Sam.
There you go. You got it.
Great. So, we're talking about the book, and then the book is I'm gonna use this. So the book is called "The First 10 Runs in Singles." That was advice from different captains. I get time to time, but we will talk more about this book. One of the interesting thing about this book is. Um, the forward of this book is written by the one of my favorite, everybody's favorite, Sir Vivian Richard. He wrote the book, the forward for this book, and you guys can see like what he said about it. And also at that one of the occasion, this book is presented to Mr. Sam. Sam presented this to Sunil Gavaskar, the legendary Indian cricketer. So this is a very heavy duty introduction for this book, and we expect a lot of expectation for this book. So Sam, let me just get like a little brief from you, like what made you this idea to write this book.
Yeah. So, like many people who are watching, my father played a very pivotal role in my life.
Hmm.
And from my father was a army officer, but he was also the best way to describe my father was he was a cricketer and he was a cricket captain. And I remember as a young boy when I was 7 years old, I was in my first organized cricket match for my prep school, and I was fielding in the slips. The captain hid me in the slips, but the ball found me there, and I missed three catches. And my father was not at that game because being an army officer, duty called. But that evening, he called me and said, "Son," or he called me Mahan, which is the oldest son is called Mahan. And he
Uh-huh.
said, "Mahan, how did you do?" And I told him, "Appa," and I said, "Appa, I dropped three catches." And he said, "Shah." You know how in South Asia, when you get disappointed, you say, "Shah." And then he said, "Son," he said, "watching the bat is not enough. You need to watch the bowler's arm.
Yeah.
By watching the bowler's arm, you will be able to get a better track of the ball, and you'll be able to take more catches. So that was the first piece of advice my father gave me. And as I used that advice in practice and then in games, I started to take more catches. But this was the first lesson of many lessons that my father taught me. I'm a left hand bat and I have batted all over in the middle order. Before I used to go into bat, my father would tell me, son, the first 10 runs in singles. And what he meant by that was start small. When you go there, when you get to the middle, know whether the bowler is bowling, over the stumps, is he coming around the wicket? How many balls are left? What does the close in feel like? Understand every situation that is going on around you and start small and then build from that. Right. Another way to say it, and he has said this to me as well, he said, focus on the little things and the big things will take care of themselves. So I lost my father in 1991. And after that, I decided that this would be a great way to memorialize my father. And, I see a lot of young people around the world, especially when I'm originally from the island of Sri Lanka. I still travel to Sri Lanka very often. I am always going through the Middle East. I'm either in Doha or Qatar or someplace like that. And I see a lot of young people, like that look like me, that have left their homes. One of the beautiful things about globalization is that it has created opportunities around the world. But it's not all positive, right? Because there are many young people who have to leave home at a very early age. They have to leave their family, they have to leave their loved ones, and to be able to go to a different country and live in a different environment, with new rules and regulations, new different cultural situations. So my heart goes out to these people, and I said, this would be a great way not only to memorialize my father, but to inspire and motivate and encourage young people around the world.
Great. Yeah, when you said that, like I batted and all the numbers until I thought you were gonna say until I made my own team and I become a captain.
No, I have never had an ambition to do that. Life is about other people, not only about you. So,
Great.
yep.
So Jad bhai.
Yeah, so I think that there's a lot of lessons in just that one phrase, that just first 10 runs in singles, and it reminds me of something that happened to me when I was a very young person. I really thought that I was very skilled, and I wasn't. And what happened is that my friend played in the team. He At the time he was my friend. I don't even know if he remembers me now, but he's a famous commentator in Pakistan, now Bazid Khan. And his father, Majid Khan, came. He saw us bat. And he said to us, and I think he was talking to me, he said, "You're not a batsman until you know that you have to play the first 20 runs in the V."
Yeah.
And that reminds me of what you said. And I look back over my life and I think, this doesn't just apply to batting. Like learning a new craft, taking the time to understand, like just a new relationship, a friendship, going cautiously at the start. Uh, there's so much wisdom in those. I find that the people who forget these type of messages are the ones who suffer. And there's other little things just in that statement, like starting cautiously. Like we had Mudassar Nazar and Rodney Marsh here, and they were training some of our guys. This was about 12 years ago. And again, they said almost the same thing that you said, that take your guard before every new ball. Check the field and be very careful. Don't take risks, like you said, until the first 10, 15 runs.
Yep, yep. That's beautiful, Professor, because the two things that you touched on are actually two chapters in my book. So I talk about learning to read the googly. As a left-hand bat, when a bowler bowled a leg break, if he pitched on the middle stump, I was able to hook him for six. But if he turned it a last second, that leg break became a googly, right?
Yep.
And so as a batsman, it was very important for us to learn to read the googly, right? But the beautiful thing about life is you don't come out of your mother's womb learning how to discern the googly, right? You learn through failure, you learn by making mistakes, and that's how you learn discernment. So in today's context, we have to discern people, we have to discern situations, we have to discern seasons. right? We have, God has given every one of us different situations and different seasons in order for us to grow, in order for us to live, in order for us to be able to navigate. And it's important for us to discern that. You also talked about taking God. That is a very important part of it, because if you think about it, the wickets, there are absolutes, right? So in today's society, sometimes they say that people are having an identity crisis because they don't even know who they are, because we are questioning even the very absolutes that are there. But the truth of the matter is, there are absolutes. Just like there is the law of gravity, right? The wickets, they don't move just because I want them to move. I need to be able to move to take my guard in relationship to the three wickets that are standing right there. So in some ways, they are the three absolutes of God. I have to start to work on positioning myself. And then guess what? I don't have to do this on my own, because I have an umpire in cricket. But in life, we have our parents, we have coaches, we have teachers, we have counselors who are helping us to be able to align ourselves. So there are some great lessons that we can actually draw from cricket and apply it to life. And so I didn't necessarily write this for the elite who are going to be great cricketers. I wrote this for us to be able to learn the game of life. So I tell people my father used the game of cricket to teach me the game of life.
So in one of the conversation with the great Sir Reverend Richard about taking the guard, he said like he used to take leg guard,
Leg
right?
guard.
What
Yeah.
about you? What wicket guard do you used to take?
I would take middle and leg. Yep. Yep.
Why middle and leg? Why not just leg?
Just because I didn't, unlike Viv Richards, who had a fantastic eye and probably knew exactly where he stood. For me, standing at when I first grew up,
Yeah,
I was taught to take the middle stump guard, right? But then I took middle and leg when I had somebody bowling over the wicket. I
yeah.
just needed to I used to cheat a little bit closer to the leg stump, but I didn't want to go all the way to the leg side.
Yeah.
Yep.
So your book has like about 20 different chapters, right? I think I'm right.
Close to 30. Actually, there's 30 chapters, sir.
30 chapters.
Yep.
Okay. Um, what are them? Do you group them in some different strategy, or how do you relate them to
Yeah,
our
so
real life?
every chapter there is a lesson, there is a cricket situation,
Hmm.
like taking your guard, hitting on the front foot, hitting on the back foot, learning how to handle the googly, how to take advantage of how to take home field advantage, how to play on a visitor's wicket, different things like that, right? And so I took a game situation from cricket, and then I've applied it to life.
Hmm.
Yep.
That's good. So Jad bhai, Kevin?
Yeah, I think that's really really amazing that you've done that. I think that there's so many lessons in cricket that applied to life. For example, what you were saying earlier about just focusing on what needs to be done. Like I'll give you an example. Mark Greatbatch in I think it was in 1989. He was playing for New Zealand. They were playing in Perth, and he's batted the whole day. So somebody asked him, "How were you able to concentrate the whole day?" And he said, "I just focused on the next ball."
Yep.
And so, when you look at great speakers or great people who have great knowledge in terms of mysticism and our souls, like Eckhart Tolle, he actually wrote a book about the power of now. Being in the moment in cricket is probably one of the most important things. Like some of the greatest players, greatest batsmen, are always thinking about something else when they become a captain. When they
Right.
were just focused on their batting, when they were just in the moment,
Right.
they were unbelievable.
Right. And it's also understanding your role, right? So on one of the chapters, I actually talked about dependability and the role of the night watchman. So in Test cricket or in a 3-day game, if you lose a wicket very close to the end of the day, rather than sending the next person in, you send somebody who's dependable and who can keep you from losing a wicket and to see yourself through the next day, right? So it's understanding your role in that particular context. right? So the truth of the matter is champions are made depending on what the game situation is like as well. And we need to understand, so playing a second fiddle, being a night watchman, right? Being the 12th man, right? These are all different roles in the game of cricket. And if you think about life, if you think about a work situation, you think about project management, right? You need contingency plans, right? What happens if your critical path is not going to be achieved, right? You need a way to be able to circumvent, when you think in terms of theory of constraints and you think in terms of project management, there are various ways of how to overcome stuff, right? And so one of the things I talk about, I'm called upon to speak quite often in different venues. One of the things I talk about is resiliency, right? It's important for us as human beings to have the ability to be resilient, right? Because it takes resilience to be able to overcome. We are in the season of a pandemic where, things are locked down and, there is a lot of uncertainty. And, there are so many things that we can't control. And so it's very important for us to be able to be resilient and to be able to come back from the things that we've had to experience so that we can thrive.
So your book, first 10 runs in singles. So, and this book is written in English and has been translated in, I think, two other languages.
Into 6 other languages.
Oh,
So
six.
it is in Urdu, it's in Bengali, it's in
Tamil.
Hindi, it's in Tamil, it's in Sinhalese, and it's also in one other language, actually in Telugu. So we have
Telugu.
already translated it, and the reason I did that was because for me it was very important to be able that I'm able to communicate to all types of audiences around the world. And so the fact that there is 1.2 1.5 billion people in between India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, I thought it was very important for me to be able to reach these people by speaking to them in a dialect that they can understand.
Yeah. So, as you're a successful professional person, and you're in your life, you're a husband and you're a father. I think you have five kids,
That's right.
hopefully all grown up and
Yep.
successful, different places. How do you take up the game of cricket? I mean, when I was like playing cricket before I got married, I guess keep playing cricket. When I got married, first year, my wife, and then after that, she said like she always have something on weekends to do. It's like, oh, I have a game. Then my kids born. My kids used to sit on my kid bag. It's like, you can't go. How do you manage all that? The game of cricket, professional life.
Yeah.
Um,
So I would say two things, right? Number one, in Ecclesiastics, the King Solomon said, "For everything there is a season." Right?
mhm,
There is a season to plant, there is a season to sow, there is a season to reap, right? And so, just like you, after I got married, I had to give up playing the type of cricket that I was playing. I used to play for one of the oldest cricket clubs here in the US called Pryor Cricket Club. I actually gave up playing cricket for a while
mhm.
because I had other responsibilities like having a young family and continuing to work in my field and being able to establish myself. But now I'm back at the place. Our youngest daughter is 13 years old. Back at the place where I am able to play cricket if I want to. Whether I want to play, I'm not so sure. But the way I'm giving back is by getting involved in all of these different communities and by doing that. So that is number one. But number two, even accomplishing something is a team sport. I tell people that my network is bigger than my net worth, right? What that means is it's just very important to build relationships, and it's very important to build mutually beneficial relationships. In everything that I do, I always try to do it with somebody else, right? Even my book, I work with my youngest brother to be able to put together my book. And if you think about it, I architected the book and he actually built it out. It was very similar to building a home. I was the architect, I was a designer. I said, this is exactly what, here's the cricket principle, here's the life principle, here's how I want it applied. But then he helped me write it out. So I have collaborated with people when I do stuff. I believe that just like in cricket, life is a team sport, right? And so you have to partner with other people in order to be able to get mutual benefit.
Right. So before we go forward, we got some comments, and so we'll take that because viewers are very important for us, and they take time to comment. Mr. Saeed Imtiaz Zadi is saying, "Welcome, Sam, and all participants. Thank you, Imtiaz Saab. Thank you very much." Uh, a very good friend of mine, Roshni Chashmawala, very enthusiastic young girl. She's up for cricket, and I think she has potential of being a very good cricket person, commentator, or the presenter. So Roshni said, very well said, Sam.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So
We actually have a very knowledgeable and devoted set of viewers. They usually have some really interesting insights.
yeah,
Yep.
and I think the people watches live, and these days, people watch everything on their own time. So,
Yep.
this thing will be right now. We are live on Facebook for Sports Trend, and YouTube, and also on our TV channel, Sports Trend IPTV channel. We are live. So there are a lot of, and there's one more comment has just came in. HD, he's Hamaduddin. How
My
does
brother.
one go about creating a culture of excellence in building a team? I think this is for you, Sam.
Yep. No, that is a very good question, and I would love to take it. For me, that's a full toss that I can hit for a six. And
Oh,
the way I would answer that is, very recently when I spoke at a conference, I talked about the fact that I was challenged to create my own leadership motto. So I created a leadership motto, and then I created a leadership model. My leadership motto is to create an environment where others can achieve their God-given potential, right? So it starts with me. It starts with me and having a leadership motto that says, here is what I'm going to do. It's creating an environment where others can achieve their God-given potential. So let me answer that this way. This past Saturday, I actually helped my wife plant some flowers. It's the first time I did this. This was a task that I did for the first time. So I had to really listen to her and follow some directions, right? One of the things that we learned when we were planting these flowers was the roots from the year before were very difficult to remove, right? So much so that I had to actually take the entire plant out and then loosen the soil. I couldn't get the plant out. So what I learned from that is that we have to be careful about getting bad habits and having bad elements in the environment, right? It's better to get rid of that rather than tolerate it. That would be number one. Number two, before we planted, we had to make sure that the soil was nice and loose and ready. We put some water crystals in there and got the soil ready. So it's just very important for us when you're creating this environment, right? It's important that it's clean, that it has the right, it's got a positive look to it. If you come to my companies, you will see banners all over the place, right? You will see that, we celebrate what we are doing. So it's just very important for there to be order, for there to be beauty. So we have to make sure the environment is a nice environment. And then number three, in building leaders, my wife kept telling me, honey, don't ram and jam, because she taught me what to do and I was quickly trying to do it. She said, you have to be gentle, right? So what I learned from that is, I had to be firm, but I had to be gentle when I was planting these flowers. And that is so true about building leaders, right? You have to be intentional, right? You have to be purposeful, and you have to follow up, because, since we planted the flowers on Saturday, guess what? I helped my wife on Sunday, but every day she has actually been watering those flowers, right? So it takes follow up, it takes feedback, right? It's important for us to give good feedback, and then it's a team sport, right? So in the book, Ken Blanchard talks about situational leadership. There are four types of situation. There's directing, supporting, leading, and also coaching, right? So depending on what that situation, that person is, you can actually figure out how to collaborate. So, but the beautiful thing about leadership is that it's like any other skill, it can be learned. So there is a lot of conversations around, are leaders born or are they made? I would tell you that leaders are made, right? So you can be born into the right family and have good conditioning to become a good leader, right? Because you can have the right ingredients from the time you're a young age. But as you go older, if you're humble and you're willing to learn, you can learn. These are leadership is a skill set that can be learned. And the circumstances around you can shape you in order to become a good leader.
You're on mute, Farooq bhai.
As I always say, like, I'm a married man, so I have a habit of being mute. So my mic goes mute a lot. So see, like, I'm from Pakistan, and my native language is Urdu. And you have converted, like, translated your book in Urdu. So how come the Urdu, why I was translating into Urdu? And also, I see that when giving back to community, you are running sports um, academy or a club in Karachi, Pakistan. How come that comes in, and who helped you there? And I think, did you visited Pakistan?
Yes, I have visited Pakistan twice. In fact, I was Urdu was one of the first languages that I translated into. So
Oh,
in Professor may know this, in business we have something called, it's better to pull for somebody to pull you rather than you push. So when I wrote the book, I used a push strategy, right? Because I had to create the content and come out with it. But once I did that, then I allowed myself to be pulled into various communities and various societies. The Pakistanis, from the first day that I talked to them, they loved this idea. And there was a pastor there who said, Sam, this is great. I would love to take this to my community. So I said, let's do that. And then we got the book translated into Urdu, and that's how it happened to come out in Urdu. And one of the things that I did, when so a book is not enough, right? So it's good to have good content, but there has to be a vehicle of demonstration, right? And so what we decided to do was start some cricket clubs as a way to be able to get young people to come in and to be able to take on this content and to be able to use it to play cricket and then to be able to use it for life. And so the name of my cricket club, in fact, I'm wearing a shirt. Every one of these cricket clubs is called Micah Cricket Clubs. So you would ask me why the name Micah. I'm glad you asked. Micah is the name of my oldest son. My oldest son shares my middle name Prakash. He's Micah Prakash. But even more importantly, the prophet Micah in the Old Testament, so not only in the Bible, but also in the Quran, the prophet Micah asked God, what does it take to please you? This is the question that the prophet Micah asked God. And then he speaks prophetically and says, it takes three things. It says, act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly.
mhm.
And I thought that these were three principles that young people could come together, that they could love mercy, they could act justly, and they could walk humbly. And so I created Micah Cricket Club as a way to be able to make this a vehicle of demonstration for young people to build individual capital, to know themselves, to understand the purpose of their life, and then to be able to build not only individual capital but social capital, because end of the day, life is a team sport. It's meant to be lived with other people. And so this was the reason I started the club. And I started it in Karachi, and I was so taken up by how I was received by the people there, and how it became something that they took it over. Right today, all I did was create some resources. They have actually taken it to another level. They now have, they actually have tournaments from all over, and they come together and play cricket. And so they have taken it to another level. And so I was encouraged by this. And so based on that, I'm starting clubs in Bangladesh and India and Sri Lanka and Zimbabwe and South Africa. And we have actually looked at about 48 cities around the world that we would like to actually have a club in. And so that's one of the things I'm working on. And the purpose of these clubs is to really build individual and social capital.
That's really nice. So if I would ask you to, when you go to Pakistan and prioritize an order, what you like the best, the hospitality, the food, or the scenery in Pakistan?
I would say, I've only traveled in Karachi and Lahore. right?
Okay.
So I would say for me, the number one priority is the people of Pakistan. The spirit of the people of Pakistan is unbelievable. I would say that cricket is their love language. And
Yep.
because I speak the love language of cricket, I don't know whether it's because of that, but I just love going to Pakistan. You know, the fact that they are people who live life to their fullest. You know,
Mhm.
they welcome people from the outside. They have a real capacity to learn. They have a capacity to be able to use, see, stewardship is very important to me, right? So stewardship is being able to take the limited resources that we have and to be able to use it in a way that glorifies God and enables others. And so I saw that in Pakistan. I saw people being good stewards, and so there is a big pull for me to keep going back there.
Yes, and Arsalan Ahmed is a very young, promising cricketer from Canada, a genuine fast bowler. He's saying, yes, the cricket is the love language of Pakistan, and there's no doubt. And as I was mentioning you before the game, for the show, is like I went to school in Minnesota, and I have a family, a Sri Lankan family. Mr. Last name Nan is Nandika is one of his son. He has 8 sons, and they all play cricket. And the dad, we call him dad. um, he is Mr. Senna. Yes, man. He is. I think he's like around 80 years old, and he loves cricket. So we put him on slip, right? We put him on slip, so like he does. And if the keeper missed the ball, he's the first one to run after the ball. And there's 4 people grabbing him. It's like, Dad, don't run, and he's keep running. So it's amazing. The cricket is in Pakistan and Sri Lanka, and a lot of people's blood. Uh,
DNA,
it's
exactly.
in the DNA. It's in the DNA. Yeah,
I
that.
thought I thought that Sam was going to say Pakistani drama TV shows are the best thing. That's okay.
Yes, I love to see how the Punjabis dance as soon as the music comes on. That's a beautiful thing. But that's all part of the people, As soon as the music comes on, everyone is dancing.
Do
That
you
is
Yes.
know?
fantastic.
Do, do you know, Sam? In some of our most elaborate or famous TV drama shows, the protagonist inevitably will have some connection to cricket. Even recently, one of the main characters in a Ramazan TV show, Chupke Chupke, he runs off to a cricket camp for under 19.
Yep, yep, because it's so much part of the
The
culture,
culture.
right?
Yeah.
So exactly.
Sam, did you pick up any good words in Urdu?
No, no. So yeah, I can say acha, but I don't think acha is even Urdu.
No,
No,
acha is Urdu.
is
Acha is
that?
Urdu.
Yeah. So yeah. So there are a few words here and there, but I just love being in Pakistan and being around the Pakistani people.
Which food do you really like in Pakistan?
So I really like the tandoori roti,
Good.
and and the chicken, the Lahorian chicken curry was very, very good because
Yeah.
I went to Lahore as well. And I love the puri in the morning.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
they like their chai rather than their coffee.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all
Well, when I visit Pakistan, people used to think that I wanted to eat pizzas and burger because I was living in the West. I
right,
told them, why don't you slap me 4 times instead? I'm in Pakistan. I'm going to eat real Pakistani food.
exactly, and I like the chickpea curries as well. The chickpea curry that
Chole.
yeah,
Yeah.
is
So,
very good. Yes.
Sam, you were in Jersey. Like I know there must be some good restaurant, but I think if you really want some authentic Pakistani food, you should come to Toronto. And
Yes, I
Toronto
know.
has amazing restaurants.
Yes, I would say that Toronto has a lot of amazing restaurants, but so does North Jersey. There's quite a
Yes.
few very good Pakistani restaurants where they serve, some really, really
Yeah.
good food.
I think in the
Especially,
Woodbridge area there is
yes,
some.
yeah,
I go there. My cousins live there, and my brother lives there.
yes. I
Uh,
love I love mutton and goat. So and nobody knows how to make mutton and goat like the Pakistani. So
oh yeah, I think there's maybe some of the West Indies people will do mind this, but Pakistani food is better than West Indies food. That's what I think.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I would say it's much more spicier. That's for sure.
oh no, 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 no. So don't get me started. There was a small restaurant in Minneapolis. I was a student, right? So they have this Monday special. You name your dish. So you name minimum $5, and so we went there. It's in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I'm talking about 96, 97. So he asked me, look, how hot you want it. I was like, bring it spicy because we are Pakistani, we eat spicy. It's like, okay, no, 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 take medium or mild. It's like, no, no, no. So he brought the food, and the first 2 bites I took, and I was like, oh man, it's so spicy. I should have gone for a medium or mild. So I asked the guys like, hey, this is very spicy, what can I do? I should have got the medium. He's like, brother, I brought it you mild because I know a lot of people come, but they cannot take the heat. So Sri Lankan food is hands down very spicy.
Yep, yep,
Okay.
that is true.
That's so. Back to the book, Reno. Like you want to talk about like a little bit more about the chapters, and then a little bit talk about the cricket in USA in general right now.
Yeah, I would say, I think Roshni is a better person to talk to about the cricket in the USA. But what I can tell you, I was chatting with her today, and what she was telling me is that cricket is starting to flourish.
Yes.
But it has a lot of challenges, right? Because if you think about North America, and I would say that, the country that you live in also is included in this,
Yeah.
things like football and baseball and the NBA have, the first three billets, right?
Yeah.
And it's very difficult then for young people to be able to take to something like cricket. But I would say that in Southeast Asian communities, around the West Indian communities, cricket is starting to have a resurgence because I believe cricket is also doing that in the rest of the world. And so the US is definitely starting to do that. And Rashni was telling me there is starting to be more professional players and stuff like that. So there is slowly but surely money coming into the US cricket, but it's nowhere close to how these other three sports are, right? And so there has to be ways of being able to attract talent, and part of the way that you attract talent is there needs to be more established cricket being played. That is starting to happen, but the US is a vast country, right? And so it's very difficult for us to predict how whether the US can break the stronghold of these other three sports. But certainly I would say that among the Southeast Asians, I would say that immigration and immigrants are growing among the Southeast Asians as a percentage in the US and in North America. So I see that there are good days for cricket ahead, but whether they can actually overtake these other three sports is going to be difficult.
Well, they don't
Yeah.
really have to overtake those sports. I mean, ice hockey is not the biggest sport, but it's got its own market. MLS soccer, football is doing quite well,
Yep.
and you'll also see some because there's so many leagues and organizations like college football, NCAA basketball, again college hockey, or second tier ice hockey. They all have their own place. And that's the great thing about being in a vast market like the United States. You don't have to come and compete with the Major League Baseball. You just have to
True.
carve out your own niche.
Yep. Very, very good point, Professor. Very good.
But the thing is, like, see, all these games, the baseball, basketball, and football, American football, all the three games are their heroes are local. Like did not very few people come from. And for basketball, there are few people from Japan and East Europe. For baseball, I think mostly coming from either
From
South American
Latin
country,
America. Yeah.
yeah, Latin America country. Football is pretty much cricket. Do you think they need more foreign players and celebrities or hands to come and make this game more popular in USA?
I think, again, talking to Roshni, I believe that is starting to happen. There are
Hmm.
there are more cricketers, who are coming from places like India and Pakistan and New Zealand and Sri Lanka to actually play in the US. So I think that that's going to be there. But going back to the professor's standpoint, right? Part of it is the attraction of the talent. So young people who are born in America,
Hmm.
unfortunate thing is they're going to want to play football or baseball or
Hockey.
basketball before they decide to play cricket, right? So that's where that when I talk about competing, that's where the competition is. And because these three sports are idealized by some very big people and there's a lot of media around it pales in comparison to what cricket can do. But with a more global presence, I mean, with 5G, there is much more content from all of these countries that are coming to the US, right? So today, content is local, right? Even though it is overseas, you're consuming it locally.
Yeah.
I think we're going to start to see a resurgence of cricket. We are already starting to see it, but I think that good days are ahead for cricket.
Yeah, one of the points is which is I have raised in Canada many times is you cannot attract young people until you give them something. Like all these sports have the seats in college and universities, right? So there is something a kid, either man or woman or girl or boy. I know, like my colleague here in Canada, she spent years and years for her daughter's soccer, right? She traveled all over the North America, but one day she was so happy because her daughter got a full scholarship in USA as a goalkeeper. And
Yep.
she said, like, all my years worth of money and time and everything is worth it. But Canada or North America, doesn't matter, even the national players, they can't get into because there's no seats in the college and
Yep.
university.
Yep. There is a return on investment, right? And so that is true.
Yes.
These are
Yeah,
some of
because
the challenges.
Because this is a negative story, but one of the things that the college admission scandals did highlight is that if you have a good, there are colleges and programs where if you're a good athlete, they want you in their programs.
Yep.
I'm not talking. I'm talking about the majority of American colleges or
Yep.
universities. They have very highly funded athletics programs,
Yep.
and they like to get good athletes in their programs.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
great. So let's. We took a lot of time. We initially say 30 minutes, but we already like took in more time than we got from you. So let's summarize it. And your book, I would highly recommend people to read this book. What are the best ways the people can read your book?
It's available on Amazon like everything else. So that's a very easy way to find it.
Okay,
It's
that's
available
on
in
the
English
first.
on Amazon.
Okay. Let me put that book one more time. The first 10 runs in singles, Mr. Sam and James. So great. This is it. So you have 30 chapters in your book. Give me, I know, like the chapters are like your kids, right? You love them all. What are the top three chapters where you recommend people, or you will say, like, your favorite?
Yeah, so I would say the first one would be hitting on the front foot, right? So I think, as the way that the way that I'm wired, I like to take initiative, right? So whether you are going after a job, whether you're going after a relationship, right, you have to take initiative. And so for me, that's like going on the front foot, right?
Mhm.
So when you go on the front foot, right? So when I say stay on the front foot, I mean, you got to lean forward and you got to go after it. So that would be certainly one of my best chapters. The second one would be taking your guard, right? Because again, like I explained earlier, it's very important for us to align ourselves to truth. It's important for us, while we are aligning ourselves to truth, to seek advice and feedback from the people that are around you. God has put us in a place where we have a mentor, we have a coach, we have a father, a mother, advisor that we can get permission from, that we can get feedback from. So it's a great way for us to align ourselves in life. And then number three, the understanding of reading the googly, right? Because again, it's very important. Discernment is very important, right? We live in a world where there is a lot of information coming at us, including something called fake news, right? So it's just very important to understand what we believe and how not to fall for everything, right? To stand for something, not to fall for everything. So how do we do that, right? And that is to practice discernment. And so by practicing discernment, we can be successful. I will end with this. Recently I was asked to address a class, right? And there were class in communication in the local community college. I sent them some information ahead of time regarding myself, and then I opened up the session by asking some questions. I asked them, what is my favorite sport? I asked them, where did I go to university, right? And what is it that I do for work? And more than three-quarters of the class were not prepared for it, right? So, and these are people who are graduating, right? These are people who are looking to get jobs. One of the most important things that a person can do is to come to a meeting prepared. So I purposely sent that information ahead of time because I wanted to teach them the importance of being prepared,
Mhm.
right? And so preparation, right? So if you think about the day, I talk about the day before the game in cricket, right? What does that look like for the captain? What does that look like for the coach? What does that look like for the person who's preparing the wickets, right? And so preparation is extremely important, right? In this day and age where you can get your Uber right away and stuff like that, some things that are very instant, right? We can go on YouTube and get something right away. We can go to Google and get something right away. But if you're going to a job interview, you better be ready. You better know who's interviewing you, what type of company it is. Do you know exactly where this person went to school? Because end of the day, right, people like to do business, like to work with, like to hire people that they like, right? So I call that the word is preference.
Mhm.
There's another P word that is a much stronger word and has a negative connotation, and that word is prejudice, right? When there is prejudice, you are a victim. But if you frame it as preference, because if you think about it, brown and black people have preference too, right? You can go anywhere in the world and people have preference. There are people that they like more than they like others, right? So how do you win the preference game? Right? You have to be prepared. You have to understand, you have to understand what the felt need is. You have to understand maybe where that person went to school, where that person lives, understand that person's pedigree. Why? Because now you're able to build a common ground and you can work from there, right? And so preparation is one of the chapters that I talk about here. These are very important aspects for life. And this is one of the main reasons I wrote it. I did not write it as a way to be able to make money. I wrote it as a way, the capital that I wanted to create is social capital, because I want young people to be able to take advantage of it and then to be able to use it so that they can actually achieve their God-given potential, which is the purpose of my life, which is to create an environment where others can achieve their God-given potential.
Great. And I'm sure I cannot recall in which chapter it is, but I think it must be there. Is accept the empire decision.
Yep, that's important, right?
Yes, because in terms of cricket, like especially these days, our young boy, they just don't like, because nobody thinks they are LBW ever.
Yep,
Like, no, I'm not LBW until they have this, review and all that.
yep,
So it must be there somewhere in your 30 chapters.
yep.
Great. Sajad bhai, any words?
No, I think we've covered what we were talking about. We're hoping to talk about. Remember, I told you the only reason why I got picked in so many teams is not because of my runs. They just like the way I bat.
Yep, it starts with that, right? You have to
Yeah,
fake it till you make it.
charm people. Yeah, make them want you in their team.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
make sure that I don't stink on the sidelines and I don't, and my jokes make people laugh. That's
there
how I
you
got
go.
into teams.
That's good. That's
You can
good.
also bring good food for them too. That's where I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
Sam, you already say like one, but this I always like, whenever I meet someone which is like more, he or she has more experience than me, either in any walk of the life. I ask them, like, what is your golden rule of life?
I would say my golden rule of life is to do unto others as you would want them to do for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Jesus said, "Love your neighbor like yourself," right? And so it's just important to do that.
Yes, and I think every religion of life, they always give the humanity lesson first, and the people who are around you are the most who can see you day to day basis. They should be get beneficial from you.
Yep.
So
I remember talking to somebody about this, how, one of them, somebody asked me, what's my most important lesson? I said, trust. I got to trust the call of the other batter. If I
Yep.
don't trust him, we can't score.
That's right. So
Or
true.
her. I've played with women as well. Sorry about
Yep.
that.
Yep.
great.
True.
Great. Sajad bhai, thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Sam, thank you very much. It was amazing. We've been planning for this for a long time. It was just different timings and all those things. So I just want to thanks Roshni for this opportunity. Then we
Yep.
talk to you. Are more than welcome when the border opens up. Please do come
Yes.
to Toronto and visit our studios, and we'll have another session.
I would
Uh,
love to do that. I've done that in the West Indies. I go to Antigua very often, and so I appear live at the TV show in Antigua, and I would love to do that with you guys. So I will love to take you up on that offer.
sure, or maybe if I show up in.
I come to Toronto often, so we'll do that together.
That's amazing, and I go to New Jersey a lot. I have quite a few relatives there, and as I said, I was in Staten Island, College of Staten Island, in very early '90s.
Yep.
So I have memories of New York and New Jersey.
Yep.
So that you are more than
Yep.
more than welcome
Thank you. Thank
to
you.
that. So it's amazing. With that, we'll take a leave from you, but I hope for our audience, you guys listen to it, and it's a very interesting book. You can download it or get it from Amazon. The first 10 runs in singles. So please go ahead, and because I know Sam is a very experienced person, he has seen a lot of things, and especially immigrants has a very important role in the world's life. When they move from one place to another place, they take a lot of heritage and culture and different things to a new place and introduce new culture and their history with the new people, and then they learn very quickly, because when you are at the comfort of your home, right, you don't learn that fast.
Yep.
But
Mind,
when you get out from your comfort
yeah.
zone, you learn a lot.
Yep.
Well, your mind is opened up in ways that are not otherwise opened up, and it's part of our evolution. But as a human, when you come and you have diverse experiences, I mean, just look at it. The creator of the Pfizer vaccine, immigrant, the father of the founder of Apple, immigrant, Einstein, immigrant. So there's a lot of great examples of that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I say, like, when if I never immigrated, then I would have never met so many people, especially in Minneapolis, where I said Mr. Senna and his sons and kids, and wonderful food I had with them. It's an amazing and have a lifelong friendship. And I hope we have started another friendship today
Yep.
with Sam.
You
So
have.
Sam, thank you very much. And this program will be available on our Facebook and YouTube, and also we'll run it for at least for a minimum of 1 week on our TV channel. We'll post what time is the rerun is. So Sam, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great night and rest, and hope until we'll meet soon. Sajad Bhai,
Yep.
thank you very much.
Thank
Nice
you.
meeting you guys. Yep.
Yeah,
God bless you. Yep.
and hopefully maybe Pakistan is coming to West Indies. We
Yeah,
never
we
know.
have to go watch them. Yep.
Sure, we'll do that.
Absolutely. Have
All
a good
right,
one. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.